I've known about you from the beginning.
Well, that is news.
I've kept still up to now.
Very smart of you.
But you've gone a little too far. You've been seeing my children. I won't have you touching my children.
For God's sake, don't get hysterical. What do I care about your children? I'm sick of hearing about them.
You won't have to hear about them anymore. When Stephen realizes how humiliating all this has been to me, he'll give you up instantly.
Says who?
That's all I have to say. Stephen would have got tired of you anyway.
Speaking from your own experience, Mrs. Haynes.
Stephen is just amusing himself with you.
And he's amusing himself plenty.
You're very hard.
I can be soft on the right occasions. What do you expect me to do? Burst into tears and beg you to forgive me?
I found exactly what I expected.
Well, that goes double.
You'll have to make other plans, Miss Allen.
Listen, I'm taking my marching orders from Stephen.
Stephen doesn't love you.
He's doing the best he can in the circumstance.
He couldn't love a girl like you.
What do you think we've been doing these past 6 months? Crossword puzzles? What have you got to kick about? You've got everything that matters. The name, the position, the money.
Nothing matters to me but Stephen.
Oh, can the sob stuff, Mrs. Haynes. You don't think this is the first time Stephen's ever cheated. Listen, I'd break up your smug little roost if I could. I have just as much right as you have to sit in a tub of butter. But I don't stand a chance.
I'm glad you know it.
Well, don't think it's just because he's fond of you.
Fond?
You're just an old habit with him. It's just those brats he's afraid of losing. If you weren't such a sentimental fool about those kids, he'd have walked out of you months ago.
That's not true.
Oh, yes, it is. I'm telling you a few plain truths you won't get from Stephen.
Stephen's always told me the truth.
Well, look at your record. Listen, Stephen's satisfied with this arrangement. So don't force any issue unless you want plenty of trouble.
You've made it impossible for me to do anything else.
Have I?
Where do you hope to get?
Oh, right where you're at, Mrs. Haynes.
You're very confident.
The longer you stay in here, the more confident I get. A saint or no saint, Mrs. Haynes, you're a hell of a dull woman.
Exit Helene. Crystal picks up the telephone. Her voice melts.
Hello, darling. I'm in the tub. Oh, I'm shriveled to a peanut waiting for this call. No, I'm not afraid of a shock. Oh, you ought to know. Oh, Buck, I'm going to miss you like nobody's business. I can't tell you what it did to me. Oh, locking the door in our little apartment. Oh, say we had fun. Come a tippa-yi-yi-yippee. Oh, no, say anything you like. This is the one place where I have some privacy.
Crystal's back is to the door. She does not hear a brief rap.
Listen, baby, must you really go to the coast? Oh, the hell with Mr. Goldwyn.
Enter little Mary. She stands hesitantly against the door.
Listen, you don't have to tell me what you sacrificed to have a movie career. I've seen that cartoon you married. If Flora were ever a countess, well, I'm the Duchess of Windsor. Well, Buck, maybe she's not such a half-wit, but...
Sees little Mary.
Call me back in 2 minutes. I've had a small interruption. Who told you to come in here?
Daddy, good night.
Oh, don't go, darling. Hand me that brush.
Please?
Please.
Good night.
Oh, Ma, you're in a hurry to tell Daddy about it.
About what?
Oh, my talk on the telephone.
I don't understand grown-ups on the telephone. They all sound silly. Good night.
Good night, who? You've been told to call me Auntie Crystal. Why don't you do it?
Yes.
Yes, what?
Yes, good night.
You sit down.
Oh, it's awfully hot in here. I've got my coat on.
You heard me.
Little Mary sits on the stool before the dressing table and squirms.
We're going to have this out. I've done my level best to be friends with you. But you refuse to cooperate.
What?
Cooperate.
Cooperate.
Answer my question. You don't like me. Why?
Well, good night, Crystal.
I said why?
Listen, Crystal. My mother told me I wasn't to be rude to you.
For the last time, young lady, you give me one good reason why you don't like me.
I never said I didn't like you, Crystal.
But you don't like me, do you?
No, but I never said so. I've been very polite, Crystal, considering you're something awful.
Wait till your father hears this.
Listen, Daddy doesn't think you're so wonderful anymore, so I'm not going to cooperate ever.
Get out.
And another thing, I think this bathroom is perfectly ridiculous. Good night, Crystal.
He exits and the phone rings. Crystal grabs it, irritable.
Yes, darling. The Haynes brat. God, she gets under my skin. No, she didn't hear anything. Oh, what good would it do her anyhow? Oh, you're off in the morning. Lord knows we've been discreet. What? You are? Oh. Dining with the first Mrs. Haynes? Well, darling, lay off the gin. Oh, it makes you talk too much. Well, just be careful, darling. All right, Mrs. Haynes. You've been listening to the ravings of a conceited fool. What did he tell you?
Really, Mrs. Haynes, this is very embarrassing.
Yes, Mrs. Haynes, isn't it? Exactly what do you think you know about me?
Everything.
Then why are you standing here talking to me? You ought to be outside spilling it to Stephen. You're bluffing. Come along, Sylvia.
That's a very good advice. I will tell Stephen.
Oh, he wouldn't believe you.
Oh, you can't tell, Crystal. He's terribly fond of Mary.
No. Get this straight, Mrs. Haynes. You handed me your husband on a silver platter.
Enter Nancy.
But I'm not returning the compliment. I like what I've got, and I'm going to keep it. I can't be stampeded by gossip. What you believe and what Stephen believes will cut no ice in a divorce court. You need proof, and you haven't got it. When Mr. Winston comes to his senses, he'll apologize, and Stephen will have no choice but to accept my explanations. Now that's that. Good night.
I hope Mrs. Winston will accept your explanations.
What have I got to explain to her?
What about the apartment?
What apartment?
Oh, you know as well as I do.
Stop trying to put two and two together.
Oh, Mrs. Winston did that. She had you watched. She's seen you both.
Seen us both? Doing what?
Going in and coming out.
Going in and coming out of where? You're lying.
I wouldn't be so sure, Crystal.
Sounds like the McCoy to me, Crystal.
Shut up.
Oh, Crystal, why didn't you confide in me?
Sylvia, didn't she?
Certainly not. She's the cat that walks alone. Why, Crystal, I could have told you someplace much safer than the Gothic apartments.
Why, you big, loudmouthed idiot!
How dare you?
I'd like to slap your stupid face.
How dare you? Oh, Mary, how dare she?
I've got a job to do on Flora. Kiss you when I get back, Sylvia.
And I'll explain the facts to Stephen.
You're trying to break up my marriage.
The way you did hers, you floozy.
Well, maybe you're welcome to my leftovers.
I'll take them, thank you.
Why, Mary, haven't you any pride?
That's right, no pride. But that's a luxury a woman in love can't afford.
Enter the Countess and Miriam.
You horse thief!
Laura, it's really too bad.
You painted wagon!
So you're determined to have a scandal, Mrs. Haynes.
I'm the one who's going to have la scandale. Why, Mary, she's no more blonde naturelle than I am. What is the creature's name? Miriam forgot to tell me.
Mrs. Stephen Haynes, currently.
Is that the thing Stephen left you for? Well, Cherie, all I can say is you're an idiot. I hope I never leave this at a day when an obvious piece like that conquers me on the Champ d'Amour.
Exits, followed by Miriam.
You are lying. That old fool didn't know about us.
I'm afraid she didn't.
That's a name for you ladies, but it isn't used in high society. Outside a kennel.